You have a young son now. Are you speaking English to him? Are you speaking Mandarin? What do you guys do at the house?
So if you go back a couple of years ago, I would say I was speaking Chinese to him almost all the time. My son now knows the difference. 2 years ago, he just wouldn't know that English is my first language and Chinese is my second language. So when I speak to him in Chinese now, sometimes he's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Well, and then he can read and write. I can't read and write, so this is where it gets fun too, because he's like, hey Dad, you want to see my homework? My Chinese homework?
Oh, he knows he can't read. Sneaky Ben.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the NG 英文 Show. My name is John Drummond, or Young Holland.
嗨，大家好，欢迎回到 NG 英文，我是 Stephanie。今天的来宾 Jon 在一个医疗保健公司担任总经理，那在医疗保健产业待了非常久，那主要是在亚太地区为主，并且专注在台湾，那非常热爱语言跟文化。接下来就让我们来欢迎 Jon。
Today I am joined by the incredibly talented Mr. John. John is the general manager for a healthcare company here in Taiwan. He's been working in healthcare for many years now in the APAC region and Taiwan specifically. He is a language lover, a culture lover, and so much more. So everyone, please welcome John.
Hey, thank you, John.
I like saying John. It's easy there. But you're Jon, correct? Does that mean you're Jonathan?
No, actually, I'm just John. Very simple.
Oh,
Jon.
really? Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was always under the impression that Jons meant maybe they were traditionally named Jonathan.
Traditionally. A little bit different on my side, I guess.
There we go. Cool, man. Well, John, it's great to have you. You are the general manager of a pretty impactful healthcare technology company here in Taiwan. Am I saying that correct there?
You are. And firstly, let me thank you for the opportunity to be here on the show. It's an incredible opportunity. And I've been here, maybe just a quick little synopsis. I've been here in Taiwan 13 years.
Oh.
I work for a healthcare company. I work for a healthcare company that focuses on women's healthcare.
Love it, man. Love it. So cool. Yeah, can you share a little bit more about that?
And the company is called Hologic, and they're a U.S.-based company, and they focus on many women's healthcare treatment and solution areas, particularly in women's breast cancer treatment detection. We have a mammogram medical device equipment product, and then also in the diagnostic side, we focus on cervical cancer and many other disease areas.
It's so powerful what you're doing there because, you're basically helping get these machines into different hospitals to really help kind of with more early detection of cancers and stuff like that. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I mean, breast cancer is one of the highest incidence rates here in Taiwan in most places across the world. And for us to be able to play really a leading role in the detection and even prevention of breast cancer is something that I'm so privileged to be a part of.
It's really interesting, too, because you've been in healthcare now for, would you say, the majority of your career?
At this point, a majority of my career.
Yeah. And so you weren't, though, just working with Taiwanese healthcare companies. You've been working, I think you said, with Singapore companies as well, right? So you have a pretty eclectic taste of APAC. Could you share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually good to reflect on, too. It's been a while. As I mentioned, I've been here in the region. I came back to Taiwan in 2010. I started, and at that point, I went into a dental company. So I was working for the largest dental company in the world here in Taiwan. And I had an opportunity to, learn the dental business here in Taiwan and across many other countries. And then in 2014, I went over to a life science company, working on other areas of, healthcare and life sciences. So I've had a pretty broad experience here in the region, in Taiwan and across many countries, Singapore, China, South Korea, Japan, to name a few. So I think that's been one of the enriching experiences, just being out here in the region.
And it's so cool because we will touch on how language has played a part of all of that. But thinking a little bit too, about, I just love sharing kind of the stories of, what's a day-to-day like for you as an incredible foreigner here in Taiwan?
I mean, it's really special. And I think what's also special too is that this company really, with Hologic, 4 or 5 years ago before I joined, there wasn't anyone based here in Taiwan. So I was hired, And now we have a team of 7 that are based here in Taiwan. So a relatively small team, but really on a day-to-day side is I go into the office, I'm working with my team, I'm speaking the local language. I'm also, when needed, I'm out there visiting customers. I'm working with our distribution partners, our business partners, and other partners that we have. So for me, it's really exciting because there's a lot of variety in the day. And then there's also a bit of some of that similarity of coming from the U.S. I have management team members that are based in the region, but also based in Europe and the United States. And I'm spending time with them probably more so in the back end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. So as they awake in Europe and the U.S., you got to kind of fill them in. What's the team been doing all day?
Exactly. Giving them the updates, and I think I'm really appreciative too because many of them also have experiences out here in Asia, so they understand. They're very appreciative too of the time zone difference and all the different dynamics and the great dynamics we have, which is the different variety we have here in the APAC region.
Oh wow, that's so cool, man. Because John, I think about truthfully, it's a pretty small handful of people who have really worked in different types of business cultures in Asia. When I go back to the US, I am like an alien to my friends I went to college with. They're just like, you live in Thailand, right? And I'm like, no, it just still kind of melts people's minds that, we're not in that traditional American culture. We're in Asia, we've been working in Asia for a long time. And can you share any maybe insight, some stuff you've gained along the way of any cultural things that you've really picked up on and you've appreciated along the way as working in, the U.S. and in Taiwan and really APAC in general?
Yeah, it's a great point, John. And I think one of the things that I recall, quick little story, right? When I first came back here in 2010, I remember very early in my job, I decided one day to work at home. And I just worked at home, and my manager contacted me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm working at home." And she was like, "Well, we don't really do that around here, right?" And so I think what I've learned over the last few years is really that connectivity, that relationship piece, sitting down with the people across from the table. And that's what I really appreciate. We've lost a little bit of that during COVID, but I'm so excited now over the last few months, maybe a year or so, that we've come back and we've been able to be in the same room together, work with our customers and have those touching points, which are so important. So for me, it's been the relationship and the connectivity part.
Yeah. Would you say you're kind of in a hybrid situation now at the office? You guys have an office here. Do you go in kind of every day?
That's what I would like to be in the office. That's where all the activity is, again, the conversations, just to getting the feel, the atmosphere, how's the team feeling, the good stuff. Sometimes there's some areas you need to work on. So that's why I want to be in the office or be out there with customers as much as I can.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you're doing some awesome stuff with women's health and really, just health in general. But what do you think is the future for John? And, as the general manager here, are you guys looking to expand? What do you think is the future look like for you?
Well, I think for me, being in healthcare, right, and being able to make a very positive impact on society, and this is, healthcare, systems, governments, communities. this is where I want to be. Yeah. And so, to be a part of an organization right now that has products and solutions, but also really comes up to the table or to the stage and says, we are working for overall women's healthcare and overall society's healthcare. To me, that's exciting, and that's what I want to be a part of.
Thank you for doing what you guys are doing. And if anyone out there is listening, you want to work with a pretty cool manager over here, go find Mr. John on LinkedIn.
We have opportunities.
Okay, yeah. Reach out to John. We'll plug his LinkedIn at the end of the show.
Great.
John 在台湾已经13年了，那他主要是在做女性医疗保健这一块。那这一间美国公司叫做 Hologic， 那他们专注在女性健康的治疗跟解决方案。像他们有乳癌侦测的仪器 mammogram， 那在诊断 diagnostic 的部分，他们是专注在 cervical cancer 子宫颈癌跟其他疾病。那其实他的工作就是把这些仪器推广到各大医院，让女性在诊断这方面可以更早知道结果，并且去预防。像在台湾，其实乳房癌是最普遍的。那来宾是在2010年的时候来台湾的，他当时是在全世界最大的牙科公司工作，那因此有机会了解到台湾以及各国的牙科市场。那后来2014年的时候去了一间生物学 life science 的公司， 那其实来宾在加入现在这间 Hologic 公司之前，他当时在台湾其实并没有员工，那现在他们却有7人的团队。那他的每日行程就是进公司，并且用中文跟他员工们沟通，然后如果有必要的话，他就会去拜访客户。那他也会跟他们的经销商 distribution partners 客户以及其他伙伴见面。那最后他也会跟国外的经营团队沟通，这是因为有一些团队成员在欧洲以及美国，那他们彼此都非常感激 appreciative 能够有这样子的交流机会，因为其实有一些团队人曾经带过亚洲的市场，那来宾也同时可以让他们更了解新的资讯。那来宾在2010年刚回台湾的时候发生一件事情，就是他有一天突然想要在家里工作，那当时的经理就问他说他在干嘛，他就回答说在家里工作啊。那他经理就跟他解释说其实他们通常不会这样做。那后来他觉得这就是他来台湾之后工作学到的，那就是其实台湾蛮注重人之间的关系跟连结。那虽然说因为疫情其实有一点影响到，大家现在其实非常期待回到原本的样子。来宾是喜欢进办公室的，因为他觉得可以聊天并且感受气氛 atmosphere。那同时他也会知道他团队的感受如何，并且是否有需要改善的 work on。那他表示他其实非常喜欢他现在的公司，主要是因为他觉得公司除了提供商品跟解决方案之外，还宣布了他们其实想要为全社会以及全体女性的健康着想。那这对来宾来说其实非常令人兴奋，而且他非常想要成为推动这一切的其中一位成员。我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
So John, do you mind if we switch gears a little bit to kind of the story of Taiwan and Asia and your Mandarin abilities? I think that would be a really special thing to touch on. Where do we begin? I think, could we share the story of how you first came to Asia in general?
Yeah,
Take us back.
I got to think back. Yeah, you know, for the audience here, I may be a little bit on the older side.
No.
20. Yeah, but you know, interesting. And I don't think I even told you this, John. You know, my first experience was going to China, to Beijing, and I was going through a program at my university. And the side story, the small story to this is that on the way to the airport, you know, in the U.S., getting ready to take that long flight to China, my parents' car got broken into. When we parked the car
At the airport?
At the airport.
What?
And all my luggage got stolen.
What?
So I went to China
With nothing?
with nothing. Yeah. And so you know, so I look back and, you know, I'm sure everyone's had those experiences like, oh, how could this be me? And that's how I felt. I was like, geez, this is going to really be a tough experience. And it actually turned out to be the most rewarding experience. You know, the friends I made, you know, obviously my classmates, but really getting engaged with the local community in Beijing, the university there. I mean, so many people helped me. And the language and the culture piece actually I was closer to that than most of my other foreign classmates because of the, that experience that happened.
Yeah, wow. Man, I love when we can remove ourselves and look back and realize how awesome of an opportunity that was, you know, but to lose your luggage on your first time basically living abroad, I imagine, potentially, and you lost everything. You're just like, well, I guess I'll make it work.
And literally, that's what I had to do. And I think looking back, maybe the youngness and the inexperience actually did pay off because I didn't overthink it too much and just wanted to, you know, enjoy that experience.
I like it. Well said. Well said. Yeah. So, okay. So then fast forward in Beijing, but how did then the transition to Taiwan happen?
Well, I went back to the United States and I found out there was a university in the United States. I was partnering with the university here in Taiwan, Donghai Daxue.
Okay.
So
Taichung.
In Taichung. So I that was my first entry point into Taiwan. I went all the way to central Taiwan into Taichung, and I had a wonderful experience at Donghai Daxue for a summer.
Oh, very cool. All right. So in Taiwan, and then where were you at with your language abilities at that time? Were you still studying Mandarin? I mean, take us through that kind of language acquisition journey.
Yeah, well, I had studied Chinese for about 4 months in Beijing, so I was an expert.
Love it.
Yeah, no. So I was still relatively, you know, at the early stage of my language capabilities. But being young, I thought I was very, you know, I was.
You had the confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Do you remember anything that kind of helped you along that journey? You know, maybe we love to give some actionable tips on the show here. Do you remember anything that, you know, maybe helped you write better or speak better or listen better?
Well, I think the programs have changed now, but back then when I was at Donghai Dashi, and I think even many other universities, I mean, they let the foreign students live with the Taiwanese students. And so that for me was incredibly valuable because it was one foreign student with 5 Taiwanese students. So the language, just the conversation was just, I mean, it was really, I was in the society and culture of Taiwan on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. So you mean like kind of in the dorm system? Right
in the dorm, yeah.
Got it. So your roommates right there were all Taiwanese?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. I did not know that. Yeah, because I think they don't do that anymore, potentially.
I think they've changed that policy, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's so cool. You were fully immersed in the local scene right there because they were just going to normal university, whereas you were going to language school at that moment, right?
Correct. So they were at Donghai Dashi studying their subject matters, and I was at the language institute. So it was great. I mean, just to kind of see like how they're living their university lifestyle, and they were probably observing me too, seeing like how the American is settling in with them.
Yeah. Do you feel you were accepted into the dorm? But I mean, really, that's kind of a metaphor for were you accepted into the culture? Did they invite you out to do stuff, or were you kind of on your own? You had to figure out your own things.
They were very inclusive, and I remember awesome. one experience that still with me today, obviously, because I'm thinking of it, is that one of the roommates said to me, "John, let's go out and get something to eat tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." He's like, "Here's a helmet for you." And next thing I know, I'm on a motor scooter, and I'm like, "What am I getting myself into?" But yeah, that was my first experience on the back of a motor scooter, then going to the night market and just having a great Taiwan experience.
Oh wow, yeah, that's beautiful. That's very pure. Shout out to your. Do you remember his name? I wonder if you'd ever.
Actually, his name was Dolphin.
Dolphin. Shout out Dolphin.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to send this to him. I hope are you in contact with him by any chance?
We're gonna have to find him.
We're gonna find him. Dolphin, if you're listening, John is sending you love. So cool, man.
来宾来台湾的故事得从他要去参加北京的课程开始说起。那当时他在机场准备飞往北京时，他父母的车子被人家闯入 broken into， 而且他的行李箱都被偷走了。但他居然就这样直接飞去了北京。他本来还想说这应该是史上最糟糕的一件事情，但没有想到最后却成为他最有益 rewarding 的事情。因为这件事情，他因此得到很多当地的朋友的帮助，也结交很多不同的朋友。那来宾也认为他因为没有经验，而且又年轻的关系，导致他没有过度思考 overthink。那这件事让他觉得他得到了好的回报 payoff。那后来回美国之后，刚好当时的大学跟台湾的东海有合作，所以他就申请过来了。那因此他在东海度过了一个暑假。那其实他去北京的时候有学过4个月的中文。那因为其实当时台湾的交换学生政策，所以他其实中文能力有蛮大一部分要感谢这个安排。因为他当时被安排跟5位台湾的学生一起住，那等于是他完全融入了当地社会跟文化，毕竟每天都会接触到。但可惜的是，现在好像不会有这样子的安排。那来宾其实是在语言学校那个部门，而台湾的学生则是在一般的大学课程。那他们其实蛮包容 inclusive。像他记得有一次，他的室友邀请他一起出去吃饭，然后就直接递给他一顶安全帽，接下来就开始骑车出门了。那他印象很深刻，是因为这是他第一次坐上机车的后面，而且也是第一次逛夜市。我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
Kind of now fast forward, I mean, you're speaking Mandarin, I'm guessing 70% of your day? I mean, can you take us through now at a professional level, at a general manager level, what's your English to Mandarin ratio?
Actually, it probably is closer to 70%. When I'm here working in Taiwan or working on the Taiwan working issues and matters in business, I'm speaking Mandarin. Obviously with my overseas colleagues, that's when I kind of switch back to my English mother tongue. But I really appreciate the speaking the local language here. And there's some, I'm not a linguist, right? But I think just being able to have that conversation and, even continue to learn has been, really something that's been special for me.
Yeah. And I think it's such a show of respect too, when you're probably taking meetings with your team, but also with potential partners, just to show up and speak the local language, I'm sure really hopefully helps that rapport along the way.
I do think so. And now even for me on the other side of things, when I'm speaking with Taiwanese people here or even in other countries and they're speaking a second language, I feel like I get it because I've I've struggled too being in that room trying to speak Mandarin and not being able to maybe communicate or really express what I'm trying to express.
Boy, that's beautiful. Yeah, because you think about how many foreigners are in the U.S., for example, and they are maybe speaking a second or third language, being English, and how a lot of times, they might be, unfortunately, some people might be dismissive or a little bit annoyed if it's taken them a little bit longer to get out what they're trying to say. So that's really beautiful that you're bringing that patience, that empathy to the whole situation.
Yeah, and it's something I've continued to, learn every day. So you mentioned to me, what is it like here on a day-to-day basis? I feel every day I'm learning something new, from a cultural perspective, just coming through COVID and, wearing masks all the time, and then hearing from my friends back in the U.S., they're not wearing masks, but we're still wearing masks. We're doing all this testing. So just, some of those different lifestyle pieces too. I mean, that to me has just been a, highly rewarding experience.
Awesome, John. And maybe I was thinking one last piece here on the language side of things is you have a young son now. And, how's that dynamic? Are you speaking English to him? Are you speaking Mandarin? What do you guys do at the house?
Yeah, my son is 6. His name is Ben, and...
Hey, Ben. Is he going to listen to this, or he'll be embarrassed? Should we shout him out?
I think he'll be on. He'll be curious, what his dad's saying.
Hey, what's up, Ben? All right. Ben, you're going to come on the show next.
So, if you go back a couple of years ago, I would say I was speaking Chinese to him almost all the time. And my wife would say to me, you got to really speak English to him. I mean, English is important too, right? And so, I got a little bit of advice from my wife. So
Shout out to the wife as well.
Now if I fast forward to today, it's funny because my son now knows the difference. Like, 2 years ago, he just wouldn't know that English is my first language and Chinese is my second language. So when I speak to him in Chinese now, sometimes he's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Or he kind of plays around with me a little bit.
Yeah, he's like, hey, that's not the tone.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not how you pronounce that, Dad. Yeah, because he's probably at that almost a native level, right?
Well, and then he can read and write. I can't read and write, so this is where it gets fun, too, because he's like, hey, Dad, you want to see my homework? My Chinese homework?
Oh, and he knows you can't read it. Sneaky Ben. Ben. Yeah. Oh, love it. Very cool. Well, John, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for sharing about the healthcare industry here in Taiwan and APAC, and kind of about all the cultural differences.
来宾分享他现在身为台湾的总经理，其实有70%的时间会说中文。那他谦虚的表示说，自己虽然不是语言学家 linguist， 但他可以在日常生活中用中文沟通。那他也认为持续学习是一个非常特别的经验。那我们主持人 John 也说，其实用当地的语言跟客户以及伙伴沟通，也是一种表示尊重的方式，同时也会让关系更融洽 rapport。那来宾也说，他其实完全能够理解其他人在使用另一个语言表达时的那种困扰，因为你可以想想看，有多少外国人在美国工作，那英文有可能是他们第2或第3语言，那他们有时候可能很不幸的会遇到一些轻视 dismissive 或是表现出不耐烦 annoyed 的人。那来宾说，他其实每一天都是在文化跟语言上不断的学习，像他自己有一个6岁的儿子叫 Ben， 那几年前他其实大部分的时间还都是用中文跟他沟通，直到他老婆提醒他说其实英文也很重要。那像现在来宾的儿子意识到中文不是他第一个语言时，有时候就会逗他玩，比如说跟他说我听不懂你在说什么，或者是像来宾不会读跟写中文字，那他儿子就会调侃说要不要看我的中文功课啊，真是蛮调皮的。我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
A question I love to end the show with is if you could go back and talk to a younger John, maybe around Ben's time, would there be any advice you give yourself about language, life, culture, business, healthcare, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the piece we've talked about it a little bit over this time together now on the show. I mean, really, the international, the cultural experience. I'm so fortunate that I had the opportunity when I was in university. If I look back, I wish I did maybe something more adventurous earlier in my lifetime, right? Earlier in my childhood years, because I think that would have just, given me more exposure at an earlier stage, and again, meeting more people too. That's been the other exciting piece.
Very cool. Well, you did it. You lost your luggage along the way, but you found Taiwan.
We did, and found many other great things along the way too.
There we go. Awesome stuff.
来宾会给年轻自己的建议就是他希望可以早点做出比较冒险的事情，这样他才能够更早接触不同的文化，并且认识不同的人哦。那我们就谢谢今天的来宾 John。
All right, John. Well, where can people find maybe something about your company? Where can they find you? Maybe on LinkedIn.
Well, sure. I mean, my name is John McMillan. I'm on LinkedIn, and so feel free to reach out to me. And as I mentioned, I work for a world-class healthcare company focused on women's healthcare, and again, some of the disease areas we talked about with breast cancer, cervical cancer, and would love to take any questions from any of the audience about what I'm doing about healthcare and how we can all continue to make a difference in this world together.
Love it. Yeah. All right, Johnny. Thanks for joining us, my man. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Peace, everyone. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the NG Ingwen Show. We appreciate your time, your patience, and your dedication to learn. Please follow along with me, John Drummond 89, wherever you can, and with John on LinkedIn, John McMillan. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. All right. Well, that is our NG Ingwen Show for today. We hope everyone enjoyed listening to that. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Spotify. You can search NG Ingwen, or you can search on IG NG English ICRT. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday morning from 6:30 to 7 and Wednesday night from 9 to 9:30. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.